What's up, family? Listen, on the level conversations in studio. We are here, y'all, in place in the studio. I'm here with my best friend, Shakara. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, man. Listen, so we've been talking about, you've been hearing my vision of trying to get this thing together. Podcast finally coming together. I have some things I want to talk about. Especially from a man's perspective, some of the issues, we've had our conversations about just all sorts of things. So listen, y'all, we about to get into it. We are here live in studio, and I'm excited. So let's go, man. Listen, so, a lot of things we talked about. One of the things when it came to like relationships and, Lord, and dealing with like baby mama dramas and dealing with like, brothers that ain't acting right.
Right.
So, for me, my story, just recently divorced. And so got two boys and, those boys are my world.
Right.
But it's been a challenge and a lot of complication things going on personally where it's like, why do it have to be like this? Why do we have to go through these changes and challenges as a man just to be, seen or be able to be in your kids' lives, man? I mean, going through a divorce was one thing, but then some of the nuances that took place within that space, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot as far as how to navigate emotions,
right?
How to navigate, the legal system, and how to find a sort of a midpoint in meeting the other person, their mom, trying to find that midpoint. And thankfully right now, I'm happy to say we're at a better place. But why do you think, just from a woman perspective, that it's so hard for guys to kind of have that space and just to be in their kids' lives?
Well, I feel as if just going through my situation, being in a motherly space that I was not expecting to be in, when I came into my son's life, I didn't know how that was going to go, what that looked like, especially because he's not my biological son. And I will say this, having to deal with his father in a co-parenting space afterwards was challenging because, again, he was my biological son. One thing I had to do as a woman was put aside the feeling of what happened, what he put me through, or what he ever said or ever did, because it was about this child. It was not about, what your dad did to me, what happened with us. Because the child was present. They saw things, they heard things, and everything. But I think the true testament to me is about how you handle it afterwards. Everybody has to go on to live their life afterwards, respect each other, and not have any disturbances, to me, that is going to be put into this child's life. So when they're young and they remember when this happened or when that happened, that becomes a part of your childhood. I'm for one that remember my childhood very well. And I grew up in a very great co-parenting space, and I had a stepmother that was amazing. She's like my second mom, and I knew that they gave me a great example to follow after. And I saw two women in my life not clash and not yell, not argue, not cuss each other out, not make this about what was or what happened or anything like that. They all co-parented to raise me. And so I think that people in the space of whether you are divorced or not, or whether you boyfriend and girlfriend, or you guys break up or whatever, when kids are in the space, it's no longer about what he or she did, said, how they handled this or how they handled that. It's about these children and their life that they are going to be experiencing. I personally can understand that based on my previous situation, I had a lot I could have held against the person I was with. The things that he said, the things that he done. But I realized, what? I had to pray about it. I had to let it go. And I had to remember that I'm going to be stronger because I did. Okay, because sometimes we can hold on to things from previous situations or relationships with people that will start to dictate your moves moving forward. And I realized I cannot do that. It's about this child at the end of the day, and that's how I have moved, moving on. Now I will say, like the first year after I moved and broke up, from the relationship and everything, it was challenging. Again, my space is a little different because I was not his biological mother, but I saw him, which I still do, see him as a son to me. You know what I mean? And I told him and I promised him I would be there for you. But it also came with, its ups and downs. Don't get me wrong. But the challenge that I faced, I knew I had to face alone. Okay? And so I decided to lead by example in my situation and not bring any negative energy towards it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, it's something how you say you had that support as a young girl. Mm-hmm. And as a young boy, I was raised by a single mom. It was just me and mom. Right. And she had such an example for me as far as how to be independent and still be able to handle her business. There was times I had to go to school. She had my clothes all set out and ready for me. And she like, look, Ray, you got to do A, B, and C. You know, to make sure all these things happen. And, thank to God that nothing ever happened to me. We mm-hmm. made it through, I'm at where I'm at right now because of her support. And the one thing I can always say, she never took me away from my father. She never said, oh, use whatever the situations they had against me. Right. So there were times I did get to see my dad. My dad was in my life, here and there. We did things together. I was able to go places with him, spend time with him, and, do things and actually have a father and son time. So I did have those moments that I can remember that was very beneficial for me as a young boy growing up. Mm-hmm. So, it's just, in today's light, I see so many different things with young moms and young boys, kids having kids where, they don't know how to navigate this space, how to navigate, relationships or emotions or, a lot of times I see young boys that do or young guys that want to be in their kids' lives and they're running into all these, challenges and barriers because they don't have rights.
Yes.
I mean, listen here, young men, you have to understand just because you lay with a young lady and have a child does not give you automatic rights to that child if you are not married.
Right. And see, here's my thought on that. I guess I'll say, listen here, young ladies. When you chose to lay down with that man and you do have a child, you need to also understand that you should allow that father to be in their child's life and not, again, hold anything or act based off of emotions with men because of what he did do or didn't do. Again, this is about your child. This is about, your child having both parents in their life and what that can look like. But I have seen women withheld their father, their child, to have access to the child all because of something personal or something emotional based decisions. Okay. And I understand that women, we are emotional creatures. We think off emotions. Sometimes we react off of it, but we also are very logical thinkers when we want to be. Okay. So I'm just saying that women shouldn't pick and choose when they want to be logical thinkers. They should understand that just as well as he laid down with you, you laid down with him. Okay? A child was the result of it. It is what it is. And I always tell people sometimes you can't change who you had a child with once you have them. Now, you could have had a better control of that prior to. But your child is here, but it's not for you to make the man go through all of these loops and hoops. And there's a lot of men who end up giving up. They get tired. Yeah. They get frustrated. And it doesn't mean that they're not a good father or a good man. They're just not built to go through all of the hoops and loops. Yeah. And at the end of the day, the child is going to get the bad end of the stick. Okay? Yeah. And so I just think that both parties are adults. They need to make sure that this child does not experience that. Okay? And I understand, too. I know women going to say, well, he didn't want to be in his life anyway. He didn't this and he didn't that. I get that side, too. But if you have a man who is trying to be a father to his child, let him be that. Okay? Now the ones who not trying to be men, y'all need to go ahead, get it together and be fathers to your children. Okay? So it's a two-way street. Well, I'm gonna probably say an eight-way street because there's all types of situations and scenarios, but we got to be the adults. That's just the bottom line.
Yeah, yeah. And so, just thinking about when we talk about the kids, we talk about the challenges that young men face sometimes and young moms. Then it comes to the other part of this story is when it comes to when the mom or other significant others interacting, one-on-one with the children, and they're using, negativity to tear the man down, to tear the dad down, to say negative things about him, to, I guess, try to pin the kids against that other parent or whatever. And, I hear that a lot. I see that a lot where, oh, your dad ain't nothing. He ain't did this, lying and making up stories just because you have issues with that man, and, brothers are like, man, are left at a place where they just have to just try to do the best they can, right there. And I want to tell men, someone once told me, no matter what's being said about you, whether it's true or not, you have to represent who you are in front of that child.
Right.
At the end of the day, whatever's being said about you, is being said. You can't change it. You can't control it. But you can control your actions.
Yes.
And what you do in front of that child and how you conduct yourself. So I try to live by that mantra all the time with my boys. I try to make sure that, I'm conducting myself. We're not all perfect. No one's perfect. But we do the best we can as dads, as parents, to try to represent the best side of ourselves for our children. So, I think that's big. So, when it comes to kids, we're going to talk about the kids now. These teenagers out here, Lord Jesus. Woo, these preteens, man, they can just make some gray hairs grow faster than the grass in your backyard, man. So, I have a teenager. Yes, Lord, and I love my babies. But I'm not seeing that now there's another side to this life of parenting, as I enter into the high school years, the second year, and learning how to navigate that space with the attitudes and emotional changes. And man, Chicago, Lord Jesus, Lord. And I know I talked to you about this years ago, and you were telling me your experiences that you had. I'm like, oh, okay, well, my babies love me. We go do stuff together. We go out kicking it. It's like a light switch. As soon as they hit the teenage years, they don't want to spend no time with you. They don't want to eat with you. They go spend all time in their room talking to their friends.
The games.
The games. Oh, Dad, can I go over such and such house? But what about me?
Right.
Right. So, how did, because I know you had an experience with that, with having that experience as dealing with a teenager. What was your take on it?
Woo. So, being a woman, again, my emotions got involved, especially when the girls got involved. And I'm like, oh, so you want to talk to her? You don't want to talk to me? We're not going to do our movie night, or we're not going here. And it was, can I go see this person? And I want to hang out with my friends and play basketball. And can you drop me off here? And can you? I'm like, well, can I get a little minute of your time?
Right.
It was interesting because here's the thing. I want him to grow up, be independent. Trust me, I did. And I want him to understand that you got to be able to do things on your own and all of that. And that was the point of, let me show you how to cook. This is how you wash your clothes. This is how you need to do this. Well, when he started to try to do those things, I was like, oh, excuse me, sir. You got it? You sure? And I had to realize, okay, Shakar, you got to let him do him. You got to let him find himself, be able to express who he is and figure out what that looks like. And it was quite interesting going through high school years because high school, just as I remember it, it's still the same but worse to me. The kids in school now, they a little bit more ruthless.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
They don't care if mom and dad is called up to the school. They don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a different. It's hard to prepare your child for that type of environment. People got something to say. You know, your clothes, your shoes. You know, if you're not wearing these higher end name brands, you know. When I was in school, we was talking about the Forces.
Yeah, right.
Now they talking about the Balenciagas and all that, and I'm like, the Baloo?
You're right.
I don't got the what? They want $800 shoes. I'm
Right.
like, man, I thought the $100 Forces was doing the thing back in the day, but
Yeah.
so it's challenging because you have to still let them understand to be themselves. Okay. Always know who you are, know your worth. It's not about your clothes or anything like that, and it shouldn't be based. Who you are should be based on those things. But that's high school. But hey, we also live in a world that's still kind of connected to those things, right?
Yeah.
So the high school was interesting as once you get into the driving. You know, let me know you made it, and they don't.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first time he got pulled over. He was scared, and I was too. And I begged that officer to let him come home. And I might not was all the way truthful, because I didn't want him to get locked up. So I made sure he got home. Let's just say that. But I begged him, please don't give him no ticket. You know, please, you know. Because we both were scared. But coaching him through that was a whole nother story. That I'm learning that even as he gets older, the things he hits me with, I'm still not prepared for it. That you want to protect them from certain things. You don't want them to experience certain things. But when they actually call and hit you with it, you like, okay, or somebody, or if I feel like somebody is threatening him, or somebody is maybe coming at him, I gotta let him handle things as a man now, and I'll be ready to pull up, cause
I want that.
no, so it's
Yeah.
it starts to really test you, in many layers, and even in high school when you got to go up to the school and deal with the teachers. Because now you getting into the, they telling you they didn't do this, and the school saying this, and you got to really, the trust has to be there, and it's hard to keep it.
And it's just so much. I mean, because you like, your kids come home, they say, this happened. Okay. Then you got to be an investigator. You got to be the person that go up there and like, okay, what really happened? And man, you have to really dissect if they telling the truth. You got all the social media. That's a whole nother lane with what we didn't really have to deal with growing up.
No,
not
at all.
Peer pressure was, in person, fighting and all these things was in person. So, as parents trying to navigate that space now where bullying is online.
Right.
And, you got all this, you got the predators out there. You got all kinds of social media people doing crazy stuff, and then influencers telling your kids to, go jump off a building and that's the new challenge, or go drink this, and then, all these different challenges they're facing. It's like, wow. And it's just trying to regroup and trying to take a breath and just trying to find a space in which you can really be a parent.
Yeah.
And
it's a challenge because while I lived through the high school years, the next chapter came, which was now I'm 18, and I think I know it all. And listen, right now, this chapter is blowing my mind. I'm like, when the next chapter coming? Come on, next chapter.
Come on.
It's just the layers. And honestly, I even, told my parents, thank y'all, for putting up with my chapters. You know what I mean? Because I had them. I'm not perfect at all. But it is something different as you get older. As they get older, it's a different chapter. So, yeah.
Yeah. It's a ongoing saga.
Yeah.
And, I know parents out there like, yeah, I know what you're talking about. They like, yes, 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 yes. One thing I think is important though, with all these different spaces and different things we're going through, we got the social media aspect, we got trying to be parents, we're trying to keep a roof over our heads and take care of things. I think one thing that as adults we should always be cognizant of is self-care.
Yeah.
Having that time to say, okay, I need to take care of me.
Yeah.
I need to get away for me.
Yeah.
And, I had the opportunity for the first time in years to, take a trip by myself, and it felt kind of strange because I was always used to having the kids with me. My schedule, everything was planned around, okay, they're going to be a part of it. And so to get out into the world as a dad and just saying, okay, it's just me, and spend a few days away, it was like so refreshing.
Yeah.
To really to be able to kind of regroup and just kind of just do things in my space and say, look, sometimes you just need that.
Yeah.
And, I want to tell folks out there, man, self-care is important, whether you go for a massage, whether you go for a weekend getaway, you have to find that time to regroup.
Yes.
And refresh yourself.
Absolutely.
Because how good can you be if you are burnt up?
Exactly. And you might be trying to carry a load too heavy. You might need to decompress in such a way where it might affect you, and you might be cutting years off your life.
Yes.
And you're trying to fight for time that you don't even know you may be losing per se. And what I mean is, you're trying to use your time now to be here for this person, do this. But in reality, you're going to cut your time maybe by doing too much with the ones that you love, which is why for me, during my situation of moving out from my relationship and everything and still co-parenting, in such a space, I realized I needed therapy. I was like, I am not okay. There are things that I need to talk about. I need to get off my chest. I need to pray about. And at the time when I knew I needed it, I still paused on going to therapy. And then when I finally did, I was like, okay, I knew I wasn't tripping. But I believe therapy is also self-care. I believe it's a balance in what you need. I also believe that everybody should go to therapy. Yeah. Here and there. I'm not saying you got to go every week or whatnot, but it's important to go. I personally started out going once a week. Now I go twice a month, but I do see the benefit of it because it gives you a platform to talk through certain things, maybe get out some of the things you're trying to work on and do. Also puts you in a space where you can be vulnerable with yourself and accept yourself, your things you're going through, and understand that they cannot defeat you unless you allow them to. Okay? But without therapy, I promise you, my past still will be stirring around in my brain.
Yeah.
And that's not good when you're trying to deal with running a business, working a job, being there for your kids, or being there for your family, your friends. That whole that commercial where the lady has a smiley face, and then she moving, but she not happy, got the smiley face. That's a real thing.
And that's for you brothers too. It's for you brothers out there. Many times we try to find ourselves trying to be macho.
Yeah.
I don't need no help. Bruh, come on.
Yeah.
And I even go to therapy. And I just realized it's not like in person, but so I have like a coach that calls me like once a month. And so they speak to you for about an hour or so and just kind of see where you are. And it's amazing how good that feels to be able to talk to a total stranger that knows nothing about you, to be able to unload and unpack some of the things you're dealing with.
Right.
And so I love my little coach. He called me and we just chatting it up. I'll be at work and, we take my little lunch break or whatever. And just sit there and talk. He's, ask you how you doing and what's been going on and, whatnot. So, I kind of look forward to those calls now. And so, bruhs, listen, don't think that you're weak or you're less than a man because you're going to therapy.
Right.
Everyone needs some help.
Absolutely. And To be honest, some women gonna find it attractive
All
that
right.
that a man can be in his soft space
Yeah.
and understand what he needs, because ultimately a balanced man is great for a woman.
Yeah. All
So
right. Y'all hear that now, fellas?
clock it in, get in here, get in here. I'm just saying.
Man. So, uh, many times people stay in relationships that they know are toxic and they know are not good for them. And I want to stick it out for the kids. I want to stick it out because it's going to be detrimental for the kids, or it's going to be better. If we break up, it's going to do something to the kids. But what about you? What about what happens to you if you
Yes.
continue in that cycle?
Yes.
I found myself in that cycle sort of when I was in my marriage where, things were going on that I knew were not healthy. And I said, well, let me just stick it out for the kids. I want my boys to have both parents, something I did not have, two parents living in the same house, the whole white picket fence picture and, want to do all that. And man, I'm so thankful today that I did not make that decision because Lord knows I think it would have been a lot more worse than it was, And so, you have to take a moment and take a breath to see what truly is important and
Yeah.
your well-being, your peace of mind,
Yes.
and also the peace of mind of your kids.
Yes.
One thing kids are resilient.
Yes.
They'll know, oh, mom, dad went through this situation, but guess what? They'll bounce back. They understand. They'll be okay.
They will.
And it took me a minute to realize that going through the process of understanding that, my kids are going to still be okay.
Yes.
Even if we're not, in this unit that we're used to. The unit's no longer the way it used to be, but guess what? Things are better for it.
Yeah.
And so I think it's important for people to understand that, loving your kids does not mean, hurting yourself or taking yourself through something you don't have to.
Yeah.
Know? And, just understanding that, look, sometimes you just got to walk away.
And honestly, that is the best thing I ever did. Me walking away came, with months of back and forth, months of me being scared of disrupting the home front. I didn't want my son to feel like he don't have a home anymore, or if I take this or take that. So I walked away and just about left everything. Because I knew if I didn't walk away, I was going to snap because I was feeling it, okay? Because when a person plays in your face one too many times, it can put you in a dark place. It can put you in a place you never even knew you can get to, okay? And that was the best thing I could have done, was to walk away. And just say, you know what, I gotta think about me. I'm still gonna be here for you, but I gotta do this for me, right? Also, I do feel like sometimes we get into vicious cycles with relationships. We stay in relationships longer than we need to. And I am guilty as charged for doing that, because well, maybe we can work this out, and maybe this and maybe that and maybe that. And I'm here to say, maybe you should see the reality when it hits you, when you see it, and don't be afraid to know that it doesn't mean that you can't move on with your life or be with somebody else, or there's not life after that. I am guilty of being with someone for 9 years. It don't take that long for a man to know if he want to marry you or not, but I kept holding on to it and thinking this and thinking that. But what ended up happening was, truthfully, we realized at year 5 that we should just be friends. And I mean, we still wasted 4 more years, okay? And as I look back, those years I cannot get back, but I do remember walking away and going through my process of healing and therapy. And as a woman, that's when I learned my value, my worth, and I created my boundaries, because I didn't have any before. I was naive in some areas, and I'm a person that loved hard, and I'm loyal to the core, and hey, I'm ride or die with you. But it don't mean that they're gonna ride or die with you.
Wow.
So you have to realize who is gonna be there for you, who is gonna hold you down. And I say the minute that you see that they not, pull back.
Yeah.
Save your time, save your energy, and everything else, your money. Okay, I'm gonna stop right there because I'm about to cuss. But
Yeah.
save all that.
Yeah.
Okay, because I say put it back in yourself.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
because it's important.
Yeah. Yeah. And, to piggyback on that, fear. Fear is one of the biggest drivers of people just being stuck in where they are, whether it's in a relationship, a business, whatever the case is. Fear can keep you so stagnant from moving forward. I've been guilty of it in so many ways. I'm sure you can contest to that and things in your life, but fear, man. And we have to understand how to navigate that space. For me, prayer and just trusting the Lord, that's how I navigate that space. But finding a way to get through that fear.
Yeah, and trying to, getting through it is easier said than done.
Yes, is it?
And I'm not even going to sit here and lie and say I don't let it trap me sometimes. I still do. Because, and I actually have, my biggest fear is actually dealing with men now. I'm trying my best to not let it stop me from understanding that I can be loved. But it's getting in the way, right? And so I have recently prayed about what it is that I'm looking for, what I'm hoping that I can partner with as far as in a man. I'm going to have to keep my faith. So right now my faith is going to have to come over my fear. But then there's things that I have fear when it comes to my business. But it's a little different though. I'm actually able to do you know what? I said in 2025, I'm going to get my nose instead of not knowing. Okay? So I'm going to go try to do it. If it's a no, I can't, cool. But one thing I can't do is not. Okay? Can't do that no more. I've been doing that already. That's not making nothing happen. So I have been processing my fear of being vulnerable or open with someone. And I know it's going to be challenging because I am also finding myself, I'm in a space where I want to skip to the good part. Okay,
Get to the good part.
I want to know how you handle arguments.
Yeah.
I want to know how your family, how do you act with your family? What's your relationship with your mother, your father? I'm not saying I don't want to know your favorite color, your favorite food, but I want to fast forward. And sometimes that's a bad thing to do, because you got to give people time and yourself time to get to know each other. But I be coming in hot and heavy now, and it's a little bit different with me. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, how I'm going to navigate this? And I'm trying to figure it out. And I know why I'm the way I am. So I make sure I be as transparent as possible with men, which is a good and a bad thing, But I do want somebody to know and understand kind of what they may be dealing with and why. Because I kind of have like a zero tolerance now. I used to have a whole lot, but now I don't have it no more. So it's challenging. I know it's because of my fear. I'm trying to have faith over fear when it comes to being vulnerable again.
Yeah. For me, wow. For me, the fear in getting into relationships is huge, man. It's like, when I was married, it wasn't all this social media stuff. Now you got the dating apps, you got all these apps, swipe left, swipe cross-eye. I mean, you got so many ways of trying to meet somebody now, and then you got to be careful of who you're meeting if it's really who they say they are. And so, man, it's been for me a challenge. I think I've pretty much given up on the apps. I just said, look, I'm gonna go out in person. I'm gonna meet you. We do it that way. But just navigating that space, that fear factor too, can really stunt you from moving forward. Fear of saying, okay, let me go out and meet. Let me go out to the event or this thing or that thing to, meet somebody, being social again. And so I've been making my little baby steps here and there to try and get back out there, so to speak, and, making some strides, sort of, kind of. But, I'm learning that you cannot let that stop your movement. You got to at least, if you don't try, you will never know where get your no.
Yeah.
Get your no,
Get your no.
You're
right.
And so, and I also know I don't want to settle.
Yes.
I've done that in so many spaces in my life, and, coming up through my 20s and as a young man, just settling for whatever comes my way. Knowing that it's not good for me, but yeah, well, she's pretty. Okay, that's it. Or this, or even an opportunity in which you say, okay, I'll just, settle for this opportunity, knowing you're better than that, even in business. So I've learned even in business how to navigate, who I surround myself with. Mm-hmm. Sometimes in business you find yourself, because we're both business owners, you own Creative Leo Designs. She's the coldest graphic designer. Check her out, Creative Leo Designs.
Thank you.
And, myself, RSR Production Services. So we both are business owners.
He's the coldest aerial photographer, drone photographer. Check him out.
Oh, man, yes. So listen, in business, you got to even watch how you navigate your spaces and I remember one instance in which I was working with an individual, and sometimes when you work with people, you're so excited to work with them because of who they are or what their stature are or whatever the case is, that you're willing to kind of take lessen who you are, or take less because I want to be with this person, connect with them, and that bit me in the butt. I found myself pulling time away from my children, trying to satisfy the obligations that this person wanted me to do. And I was finding myself just losing myself. I found, I'm like so enthralled in trying to be successful that I've lost myself in that. And so nevertheless, I found that wasn't a good relationship to be in. It was unhealthy for me. And so I use that as a motivational period to say, I don't want to do that again. I want to move forward. I want to be powerful. I can grow without having, that particular connection or this particular person, trying to push me forward, to go say, you can stand on your own 2 feet.
Yes.
You can stand on your own 2 feet. You can make those motions without having to lessen yourself, without having to sacrifice, without having to lower your standards because you're trying to be here. The Lord will get you there. You will get there through your hard work and through your own talents.
Yep.
So I find myself now navigating meeting a lot of new people in business, getting out there socially. And so that fear factor in that instance has become lesser.
Yeah.
I'm still dealing with it on the relationship side as far as trying to meet that one because, yes, I want to be married again, y'all. Yes, one day. She's out there. But so, I'm making strides, and I'm thankful for that. This podcast, in fact, being here in this space was, something that I didn't think could happen. I'm like, man, will this ever happen? And so look how things are starting to come together, starting to talk to people, Just sometimes you just got to do it. Get off your hunches and do it. Yeah. Stop talking about it and just do it.
Yeah.
You may not have all the fancy bells and whistles and things, but guess what? Just do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's powerful for me. And so, so in business. So business, let's talk about that. Some of the fun things in business and some of the nuances that, you've been in the game quite a bit with your graphic design, and you've been, doing a lot of big things, man. Business owners, young people out there that might be trying to get into business, they want to get the LLC. That's the first thing. They want to get all these parts and pieces together. What would you say to someone, a young person that's trying to get themselves off the ground in business? What advice would you have for them?
I would say go ahead and register with the state. Take that step, put some thought into the name that you're going to choose, because you want to make sure you're committing to this name. Okay. After that, work on branding, work on working with people who can assist you with that. Um, we have a lot of great programs here in our city that will help you develop certain things, plans, structures, all of that. One thing I will say, the biggest thing I'm going to say, do not let you not knowing stop you from doing. Because I run into a lot of younger entrepreneurs, in general. I don't know how to do that. That's over my head. That seemed like a lot. Hey, I'm somebody who believes education is real and important. But here's what I'm also going to say. Education is also you going to the library, maybe reading up on something, going to go meet somebody who knows how to do something that you don't know how to do so you can learn from them, going to certain programs that can assist you. You can learn if you want to, okay? Don't let that stop you from trying to do what you're trying to do. Also, this cliche, but you don't have to have a certain formula or a certain setup or type of things to be able to execute starting a business. Oh, I don't have no money to do it, or I don't got the product yet, or I don't have it. It don't take that. You got to research it. So my thing would be get your nose again, okay? And what I mean by that is, if you're trying to start a business and you don't know how much it costs to even start it, you don't want to start that business. So how can you say you can't if you didn't do the research to see if you can't? If you don't know any numbers or anything like that, you got to take that. Take that on. How much does the product cost for me to make 500 bottles of my product, right? And the materials, how does that look? What does that look like? You have to get that in order for you to set out some type of plan, okay? And maybe you got to start small, but you can start somewhere. I started my business when I was a sophomore in college. And ironically enough, it was because a professor challenged me on starting the business essentially. And he said, well, Shakara, I was kind of cocky in class. So one day he put me on the spot. He said, what kind of designer are you going to be? I said, oh, that's easy. I'm the creative Leo. That's my legacy. He said, show me. And being at the time I was at the school at the University of Akron in the interior design program, they only had 2 minorities in it, and both minorities were 2 females. So we stuck together, okay, and we had to figure out a lot of different things. But my professors, I did not have any minority professors, okay, but this Caucasian male professor was pushing me, challenging me. And when I asked him, I actually went back to the school for his little retirement party years later, by the way. And I asked him, why'd you put me on blast like that? I said, I still got that business, by the way. You put me on blast. He said, because I saw potential you didn't see. Whoever thought that man saw potential in me, and pushed me. But that is why I started the company, truthfully. And he was my first customer as well. And at the time, he told me, you have an eye for graphics. I was studying graphic design as well. But again, I was going to school for interior design. So I'm like, yeah, okay. Who knew? Years later, I do not do interior design. I do graphic design. So I would say to anybody who trying to figure it out, go ahead and do it. Only thing you can do is maybe mess up on something and have to recreate or restart over or however. And yes, you can have multiple businesses. Yes, that's also a thing. Sometimes people say you got to focus on one thing at a time. I disagree. I say start your multiple businesses and put them in order. Whatever is going to bring in revenue to water the seed, to make the flower come off the tree, that's what you should do first. But it don't mean you can't have other businesses.
What about, okay, so you get those young people, I don't know what I want to do, or, what can I make into a business? What's your answer to them? They say, oh, I don't got no ideas, what can I do? Yeah.
So I feel like I run into this a lot with everybody. because a lot of people don't feel that they're creative. And I always tell people, your mind is a creative piece. That is the biggest creative piece to me in our human existence. I run into business owners who created some of the most amazing designs, right? And they're graphic artists, great. But I also run into business owners who created a biomechanical arm that can go through the heart without opening the heart to remove blocked arteries. That's some cold creativity, if you ask me.
That is.
So I'm saying that to say, when it comes to your business, your idea is going to come from your inner creativity. Whatever you're trying to like your ingenuity side of you, what that looks like, what can you start? I also want to say this. If any of you have a hobby that you do a lot.
Listen up, y'all.
A lot. That's what you probably should start at. For me, growing up, we have a lot of family functions. We still do. So I started doing my family events, decorating and things like that, and turned that into doing event planning. It was a hobby. It was something I loved. Then I started doing event planning for years with the business, and that's what I love to do. But it was also connected to my interiors, as well. But then from there, I knew I wanted to do commercial printing and things like that. So I knew that my creative wheelhouse was happening, right? But if you don't start somewhere with your thoughts, and most people have some ideas, they just don't think they can do them. And I'm here to tell you, if you begin to look at people who have some similar ideas and things that's going on, you will become inspired to figure it out, try it out. And it doesn't matter what age you are. I also get that too. We were talking about the youth, but I also get older people. Oh, I'm too old to be trying to do that now. And I say, no, you're not. Because I remember when I was in college with people who were, 2 times my age, 3 times my age, actually, in a couple of classes. Your age has nothing to do with your creative mind, and when it's time for you to spark that energy on whatever design or whatever business plan you want to do, it doesn't matter. I'm going to share this too, because it blew my mind. Yeah. Okay, so I went to the We Bank Women Conference this week here early in Cleveland. And one of the keynote speaker, she brought up the fact that there is a business space where people are professional huggers.
I've heard this before.
And I said, is she talking about like I hug you? And so she was talking about how the person should do a business pitch or whatnot for to be a professional hugger. I never knew that was an industry. And here's the other thing: the margin price rate that people are making for that is $80 an hour.
What?
I said, oh look, I got some nice arms. Come on over here, baby. You's gonna be all right. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Wow.
But listen. Hats off to the people who had that thought to make that into some money. I'm just saying, people, we out here sleeping on many ideas probably and don't even know it, okay? Another industry that I feel like we might need to look into a little further. DoorDash and Uber, it's booming. It's making money for a reason. And here's what I'm going to say. What about when you need somebody to do something, go pick up something, drop off something, run something here, do that, but it's not a DoorDash item, it's not the Uber, you can't put it in there, but you need somebody to do some task, right? Now that's something I've been cooking up in my head. Am I going to act on it? No, I'm not. But I met someone at this conference, and I'm just sharing it with you all to say that the creative space of being a business owner, because you got to get creative when you're in business, okay? I don't care what business you're doing, okay? Mm-hmm. You got to be competitive. But there's ideas out there that you can look up. And also, if you guys have not got familiar with ChatGPT, chat and AI gonna put you together.
Yes.
They will start you off at a point where you can at least get to finagling around with some things, in my opinion.
Yes.
Okay? So, for those who are kind of struggling on what they should do, start joining other business groups. Okay? Get to talking through things. Be strategic about it, okay? But start somewhere.
Yeah.
Everybody. I think everybody should have a business. And some people already have them as side hustles. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Turn your side hustle into your business full time. Just saying.
Man, y'all heard it right here on Over the Level Conversations. Listen, man, this was some fire today, y'all. You guys got some nuggets from relationships to business. Come on now. You cannot sleep on this information. Listen, business owners, parents, kids, young people, listen. This is information that can just change your life. Listen, if you want photography, photos done, RSR Production Services, hit me up. RSR Productions, CLE.com. Check my website out. Check it out. Check out all my work out there. Listen, I got you, man. And listen, if you need some graphics done, Creative Leo Designs. Hit her up on all the social media, man. Check her out, man. Fire. Listen, happy you joined us today, man. This was fun, Shakara. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Man.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, this was powerful, man. And I'm hoping that, something was said today between us that can help people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that, someone can utilize what we talked about to maybe reground them in certain areas or inspire them in others. And so I hope that you all reach out to us. We're here. If you want to call me and run some things by me, people do it all the time. And I'm open to it. I'm here to help people conceptualize. I'm not the creative Leo just because I'm creative. I'm the creative Leo because I think creatively. So it's a difference. Okay.
You want to put your phone number out there?
216-810-8070.
There you go. Creative Leo Designs and RSR Production Services. Listen, 216-307-4880. Hit us up. All right, till next time, y'all. Check it out. Peace.
Peace.